It's a church roof. It's the whole world. We're starting a new series today, so let's start with a story. It's a story about two words, Polycrisis and Metacrisis, which are great big global words that are happening to everybody, but let's talk about them in a small way, drawing from a conversation that I had with a young spiritual leader that I know. Her congregation's roof leaks. The building, it smells like mildew. And they've been postponing repairs for a while because their giving has been inconsistent, and giving has been inconsistent because folks' finances are stretched. Rent is up, groceries and healthcare wages have stagnated. It's a pretty familiar problem because the trend is nationwide. But also, those same economic factors have reduced available volunteer time, have reduced emotional bandwidth. People have less to give to things outside of their own lives, which has meant more has been falling on our young leader, and even buying her time, paying her modestly, has felt a little sketchy to some of the folks in the community because they know all about church financial scandals and church money abuse. And also, that's not just that community. Many in our society mistrust most institutions, and churches especially. Money scandals, sex scandals, child abuse. So, it's a roof, but it's also societal mistrust of institutions. And also, there's the media environment, which amplifies the scandals and further inflames mistrust of institutions, tells the bad stories, not the good stories, further exacerbating that people have less to give anyway to their civic lives. Now, back when the roof was built, a roof was just a roof. And it was a roof in the context of local industry that did employ people, and neighborhood ties that were deeply connected, and religious institutions that were trusted, and civic participation that was normative. So it's not just a roof. It's a whole web of interconnected factors seriously complicating her leaky roof problem. A whole web of complexity and interconnectedness that makes solving that problem, our problems, 100 times more difficult. And that is that first word, polycrisis. And it's the world that we live in. It's the world in which we are reimagining and rebuilding our spiritual communities. If you want a more thorough understanding of polycrisis, look for Adam Tooze on Substack or find one of his articles in some other publication. It's a thing. We don't have one global crisis. We have many, and each of them is interconnected with all of the others, and they're all happening at the same time. Climate intensifies storms. Storms disrupt food systems. Hunger drives migration. Migration destabilizes regions. Destabilized regions turn into war. Climate touches economics, touches politics, touches media, touches psychology, touches everything. Pluck one strand of the spider web and the whole web shakes. That is polycrisis. Okay, the next word, metacrisis. I used to say frequently when I was leading our community, there's always the thing, but there's also the thing under the thing, and usually a thing under that. My friend has roof troubles, yes, but under the roof troubles, a whole web of interconnected troubles. But under that thing is a deeper thing, a thing that happens inside of her, a thing that happens inside all of us. There is a thing that drives the polycrisis, and it is a deeper crisis of shared meaning making. We don't do that very well at this moment in history. We have this tangled mess of interconnected troubles, but driving that tangled mess is a deep and chronic confusion that happens inside of us. All of our external crises, culture wars and economic stress and media dysfunction, decline in civic participation, these crises are rooted in this. We do not have shared meaning. We cannot make shared meaning. We cannot make shared meaning. And that is metacrisis. So you can Google this guy, Daniel Schmachtenberger. Polycrisis, the tangled mess of troubles out there. Metacrisis, our collective confusion in here. The metacrisis is deeper than those interlocking troubles. It's a crisis of how we make sense of our world. It's a crisis of old incentives and old assumptions and old givens no longer working in a new reality. It's a crisis of collective internal consciousness, collective internal worldview no longer working for us. For centuries, we functioned together as if X is true. Because in our old worldview, every indication was X was true. But as we have learned more about the reality that we live in, oh no, X is only true under these conditions and in these circumstances. And it is turning out X is not true enough to give meaning to the world we now live in. X cannot help us solve our web of interconnected problems. So yeah, polycrisis, and yeah, under polycrisis, a crisis of making sense of our world, a crisis of unraveling worldview, a crisis of lost shared meaning. Now come on, it's just a damn roof. We just need to fix the roof. But follow the sequence from the roof through institutional breakdown and financial insecurity and cultural mistrust. There is a thing under the thing, and that thing keeps us from agreeing on the reality that we live in. We don't trust experts anymore. You have your experts, I have mine. We don't trust media anymore. Your media tells you X, mine tells me Y. Your algorithm baits you this way, my algorithm baits my outrage that way. We don't differ on issues, we differ on trust. We differ on who can be trusted because we differ on what reality even is. The roof is like a pock on the skin. Lost shared meaning is the virus that produces the pock in the first place. And the metacrisis, it is inside us, and it makes it very difficult to solve the roof problem and every other problem we face. Because without shared meaning, we cannot navigate our world. We can't navigate disagreement or learn from disagreement. We can't sacrifice together to build something big or something new. We can't forgive. We can't reconcile. We can't educate around deeper wisdom. We can't but demonize the other. We certainly can't cooperate at scale. We can't even determine what success means. It's a whole lot more than the roof. Now that's bad news. It is. But there is good news. And it's this. This moment of seismic shaking that we are living through, it's not just random suffering. This is actually what historic transition looks like. It feels like chaos. It feels like we are hamstrung. It feels like we cannot do the most basic of things. But this is what historical transition looks like. When everything is shaking, everything is also shaking loose. We had a simple meaning-making story. It was a story about reality that had solid objects and clear causes and straight lines, and if A is true, then not A is false. Everything was predictable, everything was measurable, and everything was certain. And without realizing it, that story just stopped working for us. Because turns out the world is stranger than that. Time bends. Where you are when you experience something matters. Location changes, and what is true changes with it. Two observers can disagree and both be right. Reality got less fixed and more relational and more interdependent and more participatory. And that was a shift that did not just happen in physics. It happened inside of our emerging collective consciousness. We had a clockwork universe. Now we have an interconnected one. We had certainty. Now we have complexity. We had control. Now we have entanglement. And the metacrisis is our inability during this time of transition to create meaning that we can all agree upon in this new world that is emerging around us. But that's what happens when we go through this kind of transition. We don't all go through it at the same pace. Some begin to make sense using the new meaning-making framework. Others keep working from the previous framework. So again, yes, it's a roof, but it's also trust, and it's also meaning, and it's also the story we are telling ourselves about reality. The polycrisis is the external expression of this internal metacrisis, how we make sense of reality. If we were to fix a gazillion roofs, it would not solve our problem. Now here's the thing. I think our spiritual communities are in a great position to help our society in this moment of crisis in meaning. So in this series, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the gift that our spiritual communities could give to this historical moment in which we are all living. I think you're going to find the series helpful. Anyway, if you'd like to get notified as new episodes are going live, you go ahead and subscribe.